Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Cinephiles Assemble, where I, David DeRose, go through my movie collection and talk about it with you, the internet. But this is a special episode of Cinephiles Assemble, where I will not be talking about my movie collection, but instead be talking about my top 10 movies of 2020. And I am not going to do it alone, for today is the first time I'm going to have a guest on this show. My guest today is James Enstall, host of Geek to Me Radio. Now, we recorded this over Zoom, so the picture quality isn't going to be as good as it is right now. I'm sorry, I don't have a lot of tech. So, here we go. My guest, James Enstall, host of Geek to Me Radio, which just passed its 200th episode, which, my God, I'm surprised I got 20 of these out.
It's a lot of work.
Can you believe we've known each other almost 7 years?
I know. I was looking back. I had a Facebook memory pop up not too long ago. I'm like, how was that long ago that we did that show in particular? But just like...
it's one of the few shows I can remember when it happened, because I remember going to one of the rehearsals and gushing about the ending of the series premiere of The Flash.
That's right. Oh my gosh. How has that been that long ago?
Yeah, again. Well, you are my guest. You are my very first guest on this show.
Oh, cool.
So why don't you start out? What is your number 10 movie of 2020?
Number 10. So again, we kind of talked about this off air. I didn't see as many movies as I normally do, and I'm sure my 10 list would be a little different, but I kind of wanted to stick to movies I'd seen, even though I'd like, oh, that should probably make a list, but I stuck to movies I'd seen only. So my number 10 list was from Netflix, The Christmas Chronicles 2.
I've yet to see Christmas Chronicles 1, though I need to see both of those. That's Kurt Russell as Santa, right?
Yeah, Kurt Russell, and this one happens to have Goldie Hawn as Mrs. Claus in the sequel, which was very cute.
Yeah. Well, my number 10 is also a streaming movie. It's Happiest Season from Hulu, which, rare that I have a Christmas movie on my list. I'm not a Christmas guy, but... Yeah. So tell me about Christmas Chronicles 2.
Well, we saw the first one because it came on, and obviously with the pandemic, all we're doing is streaming stuff more or less these days. So we were kind of flipping through Netflix, trying to find stuff that we hadn't already seen. I'm like, Kurt Russell, Santa Claus. So we watched the first one in, I guess, early December, and saw the second one on there. So we saved that for Christmas Eve and watched it. And again, a lot of the times when you put a movie on your list, it's the way you saw it, who you saw it with, something about it, and seeing a Christmas movie during Christmas is going to put something a little higher on your list probably than if you'd come across it and seen it in June. Mm-hmm. So that's why it came on my list. It was well done. Kurt Russell, I think, really enjoyed the role, and I think playing with his real life wife Goldie Hawn as Mrs. Claus, it had a really nice traditional Christmas feel to it. Well done, well shot, well executed.
Oh, yeah, that's about the same with mine. Happiest Season is seeing Christmas time, and considering Christmas we couldn't see anybody this year, so it's having that vision of family coming together was really nice at a time of year. Plus, I'm actually really starting to like Kristen Stewart nowadays. I think she's kind of getting away from that Twilight stigma, and she's coming into her own. I saw her in this and in Underwater, which isn't on my list, but was still a lot of fun. Really good monster movie.
Good. I'll have to check that one out as well. It's not one of the ones I saw, but I will put that on my list.
And now, unfortunately, now that my digital movies include all 4 Twilights, I feel a Twilight month is coming in the years to come.
The longer you can hold out, the better.
Yeah. All right. What's your number 9, my friend?
So for my number 9 pick, we're going to start, as we're working backwards toward number 1, we're going to start hitting my comic book movies. And number 9 is Wonder Woman 84.
Oh, Wonder Woman 84. Controversial pick, it seems. Yeah. Surprise, surprise. My movie is also a superhero movie. It is Superman, Man of Tomorrow.
Oh, man, I didn't even think about the animated ones. I didn't even think about those. That was a great movie. They did a great job.
And with Wonder Woman 84, I greatly enjoyed it. I don't see what all of the hate is about on that. I mean, I see criticisms, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, the fact that we didn't get a lot of the movies that we were intending to get, because we should have had Black Widow, we should have had No Time to Die. A lot of movies just got pushed all the way into 2021. So the fact that we did get Wonder Woman, Gal Gadot is brilliant. I think she really embodies the part. I think she physically carries the part off. Patty Jenkins obviously knows her stuff. my criticisms, again, I liked the movie. I didn't hate the movie like a lot of people do. And I think a lot of those are just DC haters who you see who are, Team Marvel, which I understand why you can't like both. But I think the criticisms were good because it felt like they filmed the first draft of the movie. There was no polish. Her power set was very inconsistent. Like at one time she has to lasso lightning to fly. Another time she needs a jet to fly. Later on, she's flying under her own power. I felt like we had a very inconsistent set. Loved Kristen Wiig as Cheetah.
I was shocked how much I loved Kristen. She was what I was most worried about going into it. But yeah, I love her. And she's probably the best version of the Edward Nygma from Batman Forever, Jamie Foxx, Amazing Spider-Man, the geeky friend that turns into the villain. This is probably the best I've ever seen of that.
Yeah, very Michelle Pfeiffer from Catwoman, because as soon as I saw her and knew what she was becoming, I'm like, this is almost a little Batman Returns-esque, which I don't mind because I almost felt like it was a bit of a homage as well to that type of character, which I didn't mind. A lot of people did, well, we don't need this character type anymore, this kind of thing. I mean, you have certain character types. I didn't mind it.
Yeah. With Superman Man of Tomorrow, it brought in my favorite bit of Superman, and that's Clark Kent working at the Daily Planet, which is, I think, why the animated series and my memories of Lois and Clark are my favorite version of Superman, because it really plays into the Clark Kent is the person, not the geeky, stumbling Christopher Reeve super Clark Kent. That's just clearly an act.
Right.
But it's also one of the few times that it has Superman Man of Tomorrow has loads of characters in it. I mean, you got Clark Kent entering the Daily Planet and becoming Superman. You got meeting Lois Lane. You got Lex Luthor. You got Parasite. You have Lobo. You have Martian Manhunter. But it all works. And no one seems like they're wasted, which is why when I see something like that, it makes me really hopeful for things like all the rumors about Spider-Man 3 and everything we're hearing about Zack Snyder's Justice League and all this has like loads and loads of characters. It can work. So
I'd say it can work at the animated versions, and I think it's an entirely different set of writers, because I always feel, especially with DC's animated projects, that their animated stuff is up here and their live action is, and then their TV shows are somewhere in the middle. And I don't know if it's just they usually get writers who understand the comic book genre better to do the animated projects, but you see people like Mark DeMatteis working on some of these animated things like Constantine, City of Demons and stuff. And I don't know if the writers just understand it better and the voice actors are hungrier than the regular actors, but the DC animated crop of movies is always far superior to just about any of the live action. So yeah, I agree.
My theory on that is they probably have a lot less executive meddling going on.
Could be.
Well, it's a direct-to-DVD animated movie. We don't have to pay much attention to that. So they're given more free reign.
That could be too. Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I agree.
All right, move on to number 8.
Number 8 on my list, again, we're in comic book movie. This was the last movie I saw in the theaters before the pandemic came, and that's Bloodshot with Vin Diesel.
Oh, I like that a lot. I had to wait for that on DVD. My number 8, we're having this weird synchronicity, man, because my number 8 is also my last movie I saw in the theaters, The Invisible Man.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yep.
That's on my list, but yeah, that was an excellent movie.
So, Bloodshot, talk about it.
So obviously, we've got these DC and Marvel films we're used to. Valiant Comics, which has a slew of characters, just a treasure trove. I started reading them when they first launched under Jim Shooter back in the early 90s with Archer and Armstrong, Eternal Warrior, and Bloodshot was one of these characters. And Vin Diesel was perfect for the part. I think it's an untapped realm with all these great characters you've got. And Valiant Comics has almost gone through a rebirth back in like 2010-ish. Where it's very diverse, a lot of representation in their books and on their staff. And I think that's kind of what cinema is kind of gearing itself towards more and more too. We're seeing more representation. So I'd love to see a Faith movie, an Exo Man of War movie. And they set it up where they could do a connected universe, which I'm hoping, I know Bloodshot's numbers weren't what they were hoping they would be, but I'm still hoping that we get
also came out at the worst possible time.
It really did.
I'm kind of on this thing now where I don't think any movie that came out in 2020 should be, you should be able to, I don't think you should be able to call it a flop based on how much money it made, especially if it came out in theaters.
I agree. And there are some movies, even before the pandemic, that did not do well at the box office that are cult classics that are beloved by fans. And you see that disparity with the, critics score versus the fan score. So it shouldn't be a defining factor, the box office take.
Yeah. I've never read any of the Valiant comics, so I got to go into Bloodshot blind and had so much fun with it. Honestly, the most I know about Valiant comes from your show. Yeah, I'm like, I think I'm in like episode 190 right now. So like the last 10, 15 episodes, I've actually heard more about Valiant than ever before.
Good.
All right, Invisible Man. Wow, Universal knocked it out of the park with this one. Now, I liked The Mummy. It was fun. The Mummy was enjoyable. But this go of getting Lee Winnell in here and doing just this smaller, self-contained movie, dear God, it was disturbing.
Yeah.
I've actually had to tell people not to see the movie because I know people that have been stalked, that have been in domestic relationships. Yeah. And like, the movie was great. You don't want to see this movie.
That's how good it was that you don't want to see it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I will say I'm going to stay away from spoilers just because it's not a new movie, but the way they did the invisibility, while I like it, it did feel less like a Universal monster horror movie and more Batman villain.
The movie's on my list, so we can talk more about it from my standpoint. But I do want to say that it did vaguely remind me of a Kevin Bacon movie, The Hollow Man. There were aspects of that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually just rewatched that for my failed 31 movies in under 31 days Halloween challenge. So there is a video on that. So if you haven't watched my videos, go back and rewatch that. No, but I'm super excited that this is going to. Okay. God willing, we get movies in the future. Spring forward with more of these horror movies. I know Dracula, they just got a writer-director for that. I know James Wan is doing a Frankenstein mixed with Rear Window, mixed with Goonies kind of horror movie interpretation. So I'm liking these reimaginings of classic horrors.
Yeah, the Dracula, they just said, is going to be kind of a sci-fi Western, which very much intrigues me.
Yeah, that confuses me. To quote Bart Simpson, I'm intrigued yet suspicious.
Exactly. Yeah.
All right. Number 7.
Number 7 on my list was, again, we're leaving the comic book realm now, but I had to put New Mutants on the list. I know it's controversial. A lot of people did not like it. I actually really liked it.
As did I. It is not on my list, but I greatly enjoyed it. Mine is back to streaming. It is not Friday the 13th. I forgot to mute my phone. It is Palm Springs from Hulu.
Oh, I did not see that one.
Oh, you should. But go on with New Mutants.
Yeah, so I think just in the fact that this is the little movie that could. I mean, it got postponed 6 times. The cast can now have their children in the sequel if they wanted to. That's how long this movie has taken to be put out. But just the fact that, for me, the Fox X-Men movies have been mostly miss and very few hits. The fact that they did this as a horror movie, which I didn't think I don't think it was a horror movie, but it had horror elements to it. But the cast was spot on as far as how they cast Sunspot and how they cast Cannonball, and the tie-in at the end. I don't want to spoil it if you haven't seen it, but at the very end, they leave this kind of tie-in, which I'm hoping now that Disney has Fox, that they kind of pull on those threads a little bit and we see that, because I would love to see the New Mutants cast carry over into the Disney world, assuming we're going to get more mutants going forward. But overall, I think between the weight that this movie had to endure to get to theaters, the performances of the cast, and the overall story of style of storytelling was so different from the other Fox X-Men movies that I think it really deserved a higher place on the list.
Same. I don't know much about New Mutants. Most of what I comes from the podcast Jay and Miles Explain the X-Men, which I've been binging since the beginning. But no, I greatly enjoyed it. Honestly, I like all of the X-Men movies, even X-Men Origins Wolverine, which is bad, but you can put that on.
I gotta go. We'll see you.
At their worst, you can put them on with a group of people and enjoy what you're watching.
Yeah.
It's absolutely nothing like what it should be. But yeah, I really, really liked it. I am so sad we're probably never going to get sequels, because I've heard of what they were planning on doing. They were going to follow it up with the Phalanx and bring in Warlock, and then they were going to wrap it up with Inferno. And God, can you imagine an Inferno movie?
And honestly, Fox doing Inferno kind of worries me because they messed up Dark Phoenix twice. So
I feel we could do a whole video on Dark Phoenix. I have reasons why we're never ever going to get a good Dark Phoenix movie, and it has nothing to do with cast or studios or anything like that. But that's an entirely different video.
Right. We digress.
Yeah, I'll come on your show and we'll talk about that.
Perfect.
But now you have not seen Palm Springs, right?
No.
Palm Springs is great. It's Groundhog Day. It's a time loop movie, but it is such an interesting version of it, where it's Andy Samberg from Brooklyn Nine-Nine and Christine Milioti, the mother from How I Met Your Mother, and they are stuck in a time loop at a wedding. It's every time they fall asleep, it reboots you at the start of the day, and it's kind of an exploration into nihilism, because by the time Christine Milioti gets stuck in it, Andy Samberg has been trapped in there so long, he's kind of forgotten what his life before the time loop was, and just embraced the nothing matters, I'm just going to do whatever I want today. That midsection of Groundhog Day, of Bill Murray Groundhog Day.
Right.
And then you have J.K. Simmons comes in later on, also stuck in the time loop, as constantly trying to kill Andy Samberg for getting him stuck in the time loop. It is funny. It is heartfelt. It's free on Hulu, so I highly recommend it. Obviously, I highly recommend it. It's on my top 10 list.
Exactly. Yeah, no, the thing that turned me off, I'll catch flack for this, I'm not an Andy Samberg fan.
I wasn't until I was forced by friends to watch Brooklyn Nine-Nine, and he has grown on me. And this is definitely not like anything I've seen. Like, I think before Brooklyn Nine-Nine, all I have seen of him was SNL, and this is nothing like that. So I highly recommend giving it a shot.
I will take a look on your recommendation.
Yeah. Good.
Plus J.K. Simmons. So.
Yeah.